You're listening to The Passion Project, a podcast based around entrepreneurship, mindset, and personal development. The Passion Project was created to help guide, inspire, and educate listeners while delving deeper into the minds of like-minded individuals. Please welcome your hosts, Dan Holden and Jaron Vels. Hey guys, what is up? And welcome back to episode 5 of The Passion Project. Today I'm sat here with my co-host, Jaron Vels, and across from us, we have Chris Walker, the owner of Travel Fit. And Chris has met the Queen. That's how I had to start it.
It had to be done.
On a serious note, Chris has built up a few businesses over the past, hitting 6 figures. He has become a mindset coach, come from faced a lot of adversity through your childhood and your background, from what you mentioned to me briefly before we started. But other than that, we don't really know a whole lot. He also met Will Smith.
It's a bit of a vibe, hey?
Yeah, this is like the most interesting episode intro so far. So yeah, I guess what we'll do is like what we always do is sort of start back at the childhood and see where you came from and all of that sort of stuff.
Well, I kind of always start my story when people kind of ask like, what is it, what was my upbringing like, and what kind of allowed me to be the person I am today. And that kind of comes from when I was born. My dad left my mum.
Yep.
So I've never met my dad in my life. My mum's got spina bifida, so she's never been able to walk. And obviously having that kind of adversity when you're born, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but a really good opportunity as well. So, growing up, I never really felt normal. And it wasn't really until I got older and I started to learn about these things that I was like, no one's normal anyway, so it doesn't matter. But, growing up, I was like, always like, oh, fuck, like they've got dads, like, where's my dad? Like, was I never good enough? So that unworthiness, and, my mum having to play the role of, like, a father figure as well, it really opened
Especially
my
while
eyes.
fighting the condition that she was.
100%. And, she's one of the most inspiring people I've ever met in my life. Whenever someone says, like, who's your hero? I'm like, my mum. Like,
I relate to that.
100%.
Yeah, man,
like,
100%.
And people, and so interesting, like, mum's name's Carol.
Yeah, shout out Carol.
Happy Kaza.
Yeah, Kaza.
But the thing I always say to people, I'm like, she never in her whole life let anyone like dictate like, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. Like, she did skiing and she ran a business and, she went for all these different jobs and did what she had to do to really give me and bring me up into a life the best she could with like, her resources at the time. But, obviously it was harder because, there was times where we didn't eat or, there was one present at Christmas. So I was always kind of like confused growing up. I never really knew why our situation was different to other people.
Don't you reckon that is so similar to what I was saying to Jesse the other day? Almost
Definitely.
the same thing. Like, because I didn't grow up in a similar situation. Oh, well, it was, I guess, but like different things. But I also, when I was younger, my mum actually got very sick as well.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, like similar to what you're talking about, when I grew up, I felt really confused as well because I didn't understand why things were so different. So yeah, that's just crazy. I've never met anyone that's like, you literally took the words out of my mouth. That's
I love
sick.
it.
Yeah.
And there's so many more people like that, like on the journey of like personal development and, traveling overseas and doing all these different things. Like you meet so many like-minded people and it's crazy. Like you think that you're alone when you're growing up and you think that you're different based on your own values and beliefs compared to other people. And it's crazy when you meet people who are like you, you're like, holy shit, there's people like me out there who want to do some epic stuff that someone looks at you and they're like, why do you want to do that? Don't you want to just go to uni or get a trade and, just live the normal life? Why are you asking for so much? Like, aren't you grateful for what you have? So like that's like the biggest breakthrough for me was realizing that there were people like me in the world. Yeah. And they're at the end of your fingertips wherever you go to, which is cool.
When did you have the break? Like, when did you have that realization? So how old were you when your mum got sick?
Oh, so she'd never got sick. She was born with spina bifida.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Yeah, so she's never been able to walk. That's what she knows.
She's in a wheelchair?
She was in crutches, so she used to walk around like tough lady. I'm not scared of anyone except for my mum.
Yeah.
That
makes two of us.
Doesn't matter if she's in crutches or anything. Like
she'll beat your ass.
She'll fuck me up.
That's awesome.
But that's normal to her, and it's normal to me. And I think it's so amazing that she can be able to do what she can do. And I guess like going back onto upbringing and stuff, like, you know, there were some obstacles growing up. It kind of enforces some trauma, I guess, or some unworthiness, or something that needs to be faced, whatever you want to call it. So when I grew up, I kind of went down a little bit of a path. I went from this real shy kid to someone who started playing up throughout high school, when I started to realize I had a voice. And you know, my mum went to hospital, broke, I think it was her wrist. So she had to be in hospital for a year. So I actually like went into
a year.
Yeah,
was that just for the wrist, or was that for other things as well?
No, just for the wrist. So she had to rehab her wrist because she couldn't walk.
Well, yeah. Can you imagine, like, if you can't walk, like, pretty much, not really, but her wrist is used to get her around.
Yeah.
Because of the crutches and stuff, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you don't have that, how are you going to get around?
And
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
it was crazy because it was like, when that happened, it was kind of like, oh shit, like I'm 16, what the hell happens now? So, you know, I remember I was living with my auntie for a bit. I was hanging around the bad crowd.
Yeah.
And then I turned 17. I was like, can I just stay in the house now? I'm legally allowed to stay in the house. She's like, yep, cool. You know, take it upon yourself. This is your responsibility now. And at the time I was working at Macca's. I just got a car.
Yeah.
Still on my learners. And then I started to play up a little bit. You know, I was drinking, going to parties, drink driving
Yep.
at the age of 17 on my learners. And, you know, I got caught.
Oh, you got stung.
No.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I got taken to the police station. I'm pretty sure it was like 2 a.m. I was going to go pick up a friend, silly. But it was a really good learning curve. That's why I can look at it.
Yeah.
Because that was the moment that I realized I didn't want to go down a bad path in life. Because I was hanging around people who were like beating people up and smashing cars and just doing stupid,
Just mixing in with the
disrespectful
wrong
stuff.
crowd.
Yeah.
Why do you think you were mixing in with that crowd? Was it a sense of like fitting in, or?
It was a sense of belonging somewhere because I felt like I didn't belong anywhere.
Yeah, we talked about this with Ryan. You know Ryan from Mastermind?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan was the same thing because he's like a youth caseworker.
Yeah.
And I asked him the same question because I always find it really interesting, like why kids sort of do this stuff. But it makes a lot of sense. It's like just feeling like they belong somewhere.
Everyone wants a tribe, and at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be connected with someone. That's like what we're hardwired to do. Is people only get really depressed or anxious when they feel disconnected.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, and their home. I think their home life would play a big part in that as well, because, like, it'd be very hard. Like a common thing between all the stories that I've heard is like, you know, for your example, if your mum was in hospital for a year, like you're on your own.
Yeah,
Like
and
you don't have like the different role models in your life to try and like give you that sense of like connected
Guidance.
family and
Yeah.
guidance and stuff like that.
and already not having a father figure in my life, I never really felt like I had guidance either. And then she went, it was like, whoa, what do I do now? And you know,
Yeah, it's really just me, myself.
yeah, 100%. And
Yep.
you know, what she did is she sent me to go live with my uncle for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
which was probably the best and worst thing you could have done. The best thing because I definitely learned a lesson
Yeah.
not to do that again.
Yeah, yeah.
The worst,
Oh, so when she found out you got caught for drink driving,
yeah, because the police called her at like 4 a.m.
she sent you to live with your uncle.
Yeah, for 2 weeks.
Right, okay, yeah.
And you know, I lived with him, and every day he told me I was a piece of shit,
Mm.
and that I was stupid and I shouldn't have done it, and you know, I'm never going to do anything with my life, and I'm a coward, and all these like negative messages that really played a part in me actually starting to get really depressed.
How old were you at this stage? 17?
17, yeah.
Right, okay.
So I was in a place called Dubbo.
Dubbo. Oh, yeah, I know
Yeah.
Dubbo, because you grew up in Orange, hey?
Yeah. So I grew up in Orange, and you know, he was in Dubbo. He was a truck driver, and
Typical trucky mentality.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And, you
yeah.
know, I think he was just projecting a lot. Like he was coming from a loving place, but he was also projecting a lot of his own insecurities and issues onto me as well.
Projections
are
are
reflections.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Yeah, get it down. One of the best things you can ever do. Hey, it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lived with him every day. That was hard. Came back. My auntie couldn't take me in because at the time I went from like living on my own to living with my auntie, and then going to Dubbo, and then I got put into a foster care home for the rest of the
Right,
year.
yeah.
So I was living with all these strange people, and like there were people there who were there because they stabbed someone. Like,
Oh, so you're just there because you're like,
I'm just trying to get through. And, you know, these people just gotten out of juvie, or they're just trying to, like, they've got nowhere to go, so this is the safest place for them, and they're under 18. And, you know, that was crazy to be in a house with these people who were frantic.
Yeah, so you've gone from just a 17-year-old boy with just like a little, like just like loss of direction, I guess.
Yeah.
Driving a car unlicensed and drunk.
Yeah.
To being in a house with people that are like frantic and like stabbed people.
Yeah. And like, you know, not all of them were like that, but like they were good people, but they had their own troubles, their own issues. They've been treated badly, and they were just doing the best that they could at the time, because that's all they knew how to do.
You only know what you know.
100%. And, you know, if you feel unsafe, you're going to make yourself feel safe, and that may be like building a character or a persona that allows you to feel tough or empowered or whatever it may be, because at the end of the day, everyone is just trying to like do their best.
Yeah.
At the time, I had no idea that's what they were doing, and I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm not going to survive here. And I was there till the end of the year, until about, I think it was November. And then, you know, finally mum came out of the hospital, and, you know, we went into a house, which is the best thing ever.
Yep.
There's a lot of devil in the detail with my story, because like there's some interesting things that I've gone through. And like even thinking about it now, it's like, whoa, there's a little bit coming up, like in the sense of like I've pushed that away, or I haven't thought about that. And it's so interesting because you forget these things.
It's like the biggest, I can't remember who I heard. I listened to another podcast, and they sort of like, they use like a box analogy, where it's like you've got like a shed, and you got the boxes, and like as we go through life, we pack boxes and we stack them in the shed.
100%.
And then we don't think about it, and then it's like through life you'll be like, oh, I need this, or like right now you're thinking about your past, and you're like, oh, I need to remember this, and then you go into it, and it's like unpacking.
It's a dusty as fuck.
It's
box.
Like dusting the boxes off, and then just like opening the boxes back up, and you're like, oh fuck,
there's a bit there.
There's a bit there. I forgot I put this in here.
100%. And you know, that's why people get triggered or whatever it is. Like if I didn't have learned the skill set that I learned during this personal development stage, I wouldn't be able to even talk about this stuff. I never used to want to talk about emotions.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something I didn't realize till I was a bit older too. And yeah, anyway, I lived with her, and to kind of go a little bit further in the future, finished year 12.
How were you when you were living with her? Did you sort of come back on track?
Yeah, yes and no.
Yeah.
At the start, I was like, this is the best thing ever. It's so good to be together again. Like, and just have that warmth and that love and that home.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a home for a year essentially, and I was like, fuck, this is weird. Like I now understand why other people feel so lost and not directed in life.
Yep.
And you know, it was about finished year 12, and in high school, after I finished year 12, I was just kind of cruising along, and it wasn't really until like a year later, I had a gap year, and I was just working in pubs, and I was working in like wherever I could, grocery stores, to make a bit of money. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and you know, I was just drinking and, you know, taking drugs to kind of, not at the time realizing, numb a lot of pain. A lot of pain that was coming up from those experiences. And it wasn't until a year after I decided to study to become a PT, which is amazing. I'm like, sick, this is what I'm going to do. Done.
Yeah. And,
you know, that year was one of the most impactful years, which was, I think that was 2013 to 2015 were probably the hardest years, I reckon.
Yeah. Is that when you were doing like the drugs and everything like that?
Taking drugs, drinking, hanging around people who weren't really serving me.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who died from a drug overdose.
Oh wow.
Not on purpose. It just happened.
That's almost worse though, because that's
Yeah.
like, at that time, did it show you what it can do to you?
100%. That definitely opened my eyes. The biggest thing was like I felt a lot of guilt for a few years, because when I was studying my PT course in 2013, I kind of secluded myself to just doing the study and just like trying to better myself for a little bit, and you know, occasionally just partying on weekends or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was a few weeks prior to that happening that he was like, bro, let's hang out. You it's been ages. It'd be so good to see you. And I'd just be like, no, I can't, man. Like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up one morning and seeing on Facebook, of all places, of course, like, rest in peace, Dan Rips. And I was like, is this some kind of like sick joke?
Yeah.
So I messaged one of the dudes, and I was like, yo, what's happening? And he's like, yeah, he died last night from like a drug overdose, unfortunately.
Oh,
and
fuck.
Yeah, it was so full on. I was just like, I think for a good 24 hours, I was just like, what's happening? Like, that was like my first real death kind of experience from a friend. And I was
just like struggling to process.
Yeah, I just didn't really know how to go about it, really.
Yeah.
And, I didn't really show any emotion until we were at the funeral, and I just kind of broke down, and it kind of broke me inside, because I was just like, you fucking idiot. Like, you did not make time for him. What happened? Like, I no longer think this, but at the time I was like, what would have happened if you went there and you told him to ease off it?
Yeah.
So that was kind of playing.
You sort of went down the wormhole of what ifs.
Yeah, 100%. And I went down that wormhole for probably a year and a bit.
Yeah.
But it was crazy after that. A not so close friend, but still a mutual friend of mine that I knew, committed suicide as well.
Wow.
Which was crazy. That like it kind of just like when you have one death and you have another death, it triggers you, because you're like, this is a lot. This is too much. Is this what happens in life?
Yeah.
So what I did is I drank more. I started to work out, which was really good, but the balance between looking after yourself and working out and, drinking, taking drugs every weekend to feel good, wasn't really balanced, I guess.
How old were you?
When,
like, at this point in the story?
This was 2013.
Yeah.
2013, 2014.
Yeah, while studying the PT.
So
according to Jan, in 2011, Facebook wasn't a thing.
Oh,
really? Oh, it's definitely a thing. I'm pretty
It's a
sure.
reference from one of the episodes.
The last podcast. He's
God.
He's like, Ryan was like, think about back to like 2011. And Jaren's like, yeah, well, like, Facebook wasn't a thing, Tesla wasn't a thing, SpaceX wasn't a thing.
To be fair,
all of those
it was
things,
not even half as popular as what it is now.
It wasn't as known, for sure.
All those things were built in like 2002.
Oh my god!
I at least didn't know them in 2011.
Oh gosh. Anyway, sorry.
No,
continue.
it's so fun. I don't even know where I'm at. What was it? It was like,
oh no, what have I done? I threw him off the story. You're talking about like your age.
oh yeah, so 2011, I would have been 18, 19. So I was about 19, 20 at the
Okay.
time.
All right. Yeah.
So that kind of happened, and it was everything that I was experiencing growing up and everything that I was avoiding kind of hit me in 2014.
Right.
And that was like when I was dating someone at the time, and she was like, have you ever like done a mental health check? And I was like, no. And she's like, you might be depressed or anxious. And I was like, what's anxiety? What's
so you
depressed?
didn't even know what it was.
I didn't know what it was. I was like, what do you mean? What are these emotions?
I guess back then it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now, though. Is that
100%.
right? Because I feel everyone now knows what it is.
Yeah,
but
because
back
it's so
then
projected.
the awareness probably wasn't.
And in Orange, like a country town, you work as a tradie and you go pigging every weekend.
Yeah.
You go to uni or you're a school teacher or whatever it may be. But, if you live in Orange, you essentially go out every weekend. And if you don't, it's because you probably got your life sorted.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's really restricted on, like, be a man, eat concrete, get over it kind of thing. Like, that kind of style.
Yeah, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
Traditional way.
Have a
for
spoon
sure.
of concrete and harden up and
100%.
all that sort of stuff.
What do you mean you're sad? Get
Yeah,
over it, you
yeah.
pussy. Like, things like
I know
that.
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So, like, when we did this mental health test, and she's like, yeah, you're severely depressed and highly anxious, because she did her mental first aid.
Yep.
I was like, okay then. And she's like, you should probably see a psychologist. And I was like, never seen a psychologist in my life, never even expressed my emotions. Because during those years, like, the only times I would express my emotions was when I was drinking and I'd call up a friend because I was on the side of the road thinking about like killing myself.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I used alcohol, or I left myself to a point where I was so on the edge of like thinking about ending it all that I'd call someone and like, I'm struggling. And, you know,
what do you think made you reach out to somebody in that moment? Because there's a lot of people that don't.
I think the fear of knowing that if I went, I'd leave everyone I ever loved behind, and it'd make a bigger impact on them than it would me.
Like your mum and everything
100%.
like that.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So that was the biggest thing that I kind of always came back to when I was getting into a dark hole. I was like, what happens to mum? What happens to your friends?
Yeah.
You've seen the impact it has, so why do it?
Yep.
And that was hard because I'm calling a friend and like they're in this car with me. We're sitting on the side of the road. He's like, bro, like there's more to life. Like you can see, like there is so much opportunity for you, and you're an amazing person. But I was the dude who was always happy and smiling at every social event, and you would not pick that I was sad or depressed or anxious or suicidal because I could act.
Put the front.
Yeah, you'd hide
put
it
the mask
so
up.
The mask was up, and I could convince you of anything if I wanted to, which was a curse more than anything.
You're sort of scaring me at the moment. I feel like he's going to rob me of all my
Yeah.
money before you leave the podcast. You looked into my eyes when you said that.
I'm
I was
gonna
like,
fuck
this
you
man
up.
could convince me of anything.
No.
So you're going to give me your car and your whole savings. Okay.
You got some really nice cameras there, bud.
You can have them, man.
But yeah, like that's the thing, the scariest thing, and you know that's a really good perspective because you don't know how many people out there need help who might be faking it to make it. I don't like the term faking it to make it because it's not truth and it's not actually serving anyone because you're living a lie.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like
Especially with social media and all
Yeah.
that as well. Like it's people say fake it till you make it, but it's like you don't see any of that stuff on social media. Like I've even experienced it myself in the past, like before I changed my environment and stuff. Like you'd scroll through and you'd be like, man, this person's living such a better life. Like they're at the Gold Coast, like at beaches and clubs, and they're like healthy and fit, and they're just like, I'm up here in some smaller town, like broke and got no money and just like living a crappy life. But you don't like see the other side of that.
Even though
100%.
he isn't broke and he does have money.
No, not now. No, I'm talking about in the past. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about in the
I was
past.
going to say, you're not broke, bro. You're doing good for your age.
And you know that's the thing. There's like, not to put influencers down. Like I know I've got some friends who are influencers, really lovely people, and you know they generally worked hard to get their audience. But you're looking at a majority of people that are playing a role to please society.
100%, man. And it's like selling a story that's not true. And like it creates, I guess you've already sort of said it, but Jaron used to like fall into this a little bit with like certain people that would be like, and don't get me wrong, I have too, like I think everyone has at some stage, where he was like looking at people that are like, you know, slightly older than him or same age that are like doing all this and like all this e-com like people and all this stuff. And he's like, man, he's like, you know, these guys just do so well and shit. And I'm like, yeah, I said, but
Everyone's a guru.
I was like, that's what you see though. That's what you don't sorry, I just spat on you.
That's so fine. Didn't get me. I dodged it.
But I was like, what you don't see is like the behind the scenes when they're really not doing as well as they do.
100%.
And they're struggling and they are struggling to pay bills, but they're like renting these Lamborghinis, like all this stuff. But you don't see any of that behind the closed doors. Because I went to an event, obviously I won't say the event, with all these like young e-com gurus like a couple years ago. And I stayed back because I did the photography for them. And they're all getting like photos in front of this like Lamborghini in the street or something. And before we left the event, there's one Louis Vuitton belt. And they're all taking the belt off and passing it around to other people. And they're all getting a photo of the same belt and shoes and like using the same bag and everything. And I'm like, what are we doing here?
100%.
I was like, that's when I had the realization. I was like, fuck, these guys are just like so fake.
Everyone's
I was like, all this pressure I put on myself to be like, why aren't I that and this and that? Why can't I do this yet? And all this shit. I was like, fuck, it's all fake. Like I'm actually doing better than these people. maybe not even financially, but just like mentally and morals wise, I'm like, I'm way ahead of these people.
100%.
Like, I'm so much happier being me than they are being the person that they fake to be.
And they'll never, well, you know, maybe they'll be happy, but eventually, like, from experience, the more that you like go against your own self, you stop, like, the more that you fake being happy, the more it'll kill you inside.
That's right. Yeah. That shit has to build up.
Yeah, definitely. Like, prime example, like, you know, I told a story that wasn't necessarily true about me being happy all the time, but I was really dying inside.
And that would just add to it, wouldn't it?
100%.
Because everyone like invites you over and they expect you to be happy, and you almost got to just put this front on of like, oh yeah, like I'm all this and that.
It's exhausting. It's literally like, put the coat on, put the costume on. All right, cool. I'm going to be the Joker tonight. Take it off when you go home, hang it up, sit down, look at the roof and be like, oh, again.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy to think about. And I guess it just encourages like everybody, like even people that are listening to this podcast, man. It's just like reach out to your friend that's the quietest and reach out to your friend that's the loudest.
100%.
Because a lot of the time it's the loud ones that are really just fighting a lot of shit. And quiet ones as well. You 100%. Can't discriminate. Everyone's fighting their own battles, but just reach out to everybody. Don't.
It comes down to asking real questions. Like, I'm more than a surface level dude because I just feel like people get more value out of it. Yeah, I love talking shit.
Yeah.
I like talking shit about anything and everything, but I also like make sure that I ask the questions.
Were you guys talking shit about me when I went to get a bottle of waters?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh no, I done it again.
But yeah, essentially, that happened, and I saw this psychologist anyway, and that was the first moment that I realized that I was like, shit, like I can get better.
Yeah.
So I actually got myself to a place where I felt like I put the last piece of the puzzle in my picture. And then I decided, after working, on my mindset and working on my body and changing my friends and stopping really drinking and just saving money for a good year, I decided to move to London in 2015.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of how the London chapter happened. But I wouldn't have actually done that unless I was stuck between doing that and actually working on a cruise ship.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of like, I was reading this book, and you've probably read The Alchemist.
No,
I haven't.
Oh my God. It's the first book I read and the most impactful book I've read. And
really?
It's not even like a personal development book. It's just a storyline of this guy who like pursues his own personal legend. He goes on this journey in life.
Yeah.
And he learns all these things along the way. And it's not until he gets to the end that he learns that there wasn't, well, I don't want to ruin it for everyone, but he essentially learns a lesson at the end, and it really flips your perspective. And we're all just trying to like live our own personal legend. And that's why I decided,
true, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's why I decided to move to London. And yeah, when I moved to London, that was when it like my whole perspective changed. I realized, I thought I was like the biggest, like I was the main actor in my movie. We all are, but there's other characters, other people around you, like one little pea in the pod, out of the universe.
So moving to London when you were like, how old were you when you moved to London?
I was at the time 22.
2015, yeah, 22.
22?
Yep.
Oh, you're 22 now, bro. Come on.
I'm 28. I'm getting along.
Oh, mate, you look 22.
I'll take it.
You actually look younger than 22, to be fair.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Thank you.
So when you moved to London, what was the decision behind that?
Well, at the time, as most men do, I was in a relationship that broke apart, and then I just decided, like, I kind of questioned everything, and I was just like, shit, like something's not right. Like, I'm going to work on myself really hard for the next year, save a bunch of money, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
And it was probably like midway through the year, actually, I was like, I'm going to London. And I was going to go with a friend, and he bailed, and I was just like,
just needed that change.
I always wanted to move out of Orange, and I tried a few times, failed. Moved to Port Macquarie, lasted a month.
Yeah.
And I was just like, if I continue to be around this environment in Orange, I'm going to like continue down the same path. So I needed something so new and so different that it was actually going to shift my perspective for life. And
did you always have that hunger and eager like drive to do something incredible?
I've always
From like a really young age?
I remember when I was younger and I was just like anything and everything to make money. Like I think I was about maybe 10, possibly
Yeah.
10, 9. So I did some work on like cherry yards and told them I was like a certain age. Yeah,
That's sick.
worked at McDonald's while I was in high school, even during everything. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made because it really embedded such a good work ethic.
Yeah.
But I've always been so creative and thought outside the box in like how I can make money and how I can change my life that I lived. So when I have a family, they don't have to experience what I did.
Do you think you were very like what's the word I'm looking for? Like assessing but not assessing. I'm looking for the word.
Analytical?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the word. Do you think you were just like very analytical as a kid and you were looking at everything and you were just like observant?
I think that was the word.
Yeah, that was the
100%.
word. Yeah, because I
100%.
was very observant when I was younger and I was like seeing how hard my dad was working and all this
Yeah.
and what happened with my mum, and I was like, fuck. It's like my pop passed away like 3 days after mum got out of hospital, and I was like, there has got to be more to life than this. Like
100%.
this can't be life.
Yeah, you kind of, it is a blessing to have experiences that challenge you, because if you don't have experiences that, you know, don't challenge you, and then you're never going to question your own like purpose or what you want to do or what your future's going to be like. Because if everything's consistently handed down to you through generational wealth or through living in a certain area or whatever it is, then you're never really going to appreciate anything for life. It's like, you know, you're always going to be like, things come to me, which is a good mindset to have as an abundance mindset.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah, to a degree. You can't have the expectation. You have to have the knowingness to know what's going to happen and not expect, because, you know, most of the time, people who go through struggles in life, they build something for their futures, and people who get handed everything to them, if they're not taught like the valuable values and beliefs through their parents or their guardians or whoever it may be, then they end up going down a bad path and in jail anyway.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? Because it's like, it's funny you say that, because a lot of the people that didn't have a whole lot growing up, you'll notice that they intend to look after their things a lot better. And like, I always knew that when I was like growing up. So if I got something, it was like, I probably couldn't have even afforded to get this to begin with. So if I don't look after this, I'm like not going to get another one anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I know it sort of goes a bit off topic, but it's sort of similar to what you're talking about, because it's like my friends would get like scooters and skateboards and it'd be raining and they'd be out the front riding it. And I'd be like walking and they're like, why don't you just get yours? I'm like, because you're going to ruin the bearings.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, it does to me, because I can't just get another one like you can.
100%.
I remember everyone at my school thought I was crazy. If it was sprinkling rain, I would go to the office and get 2 bin bags, wrap my scooter up in 2 bin bags, tape it closed, and walk home with my scooter, even if it was just sprinkling.
And that's just like because you knew that you probably wouldn't have the opportunity to get that again.
That's right. That's exactly what it
the
was.
value more as well.
I was
Definitely.
so appreciative of like the nice scooter I had and all this stuff, because I was like, I will not get it again. And that's how Dad was. He's like, hey, like if you fuck this up, just know that you will not get another one.
100%.
And I won't buy you anything for your next birthday because you just don't look after it.
Yeah. Just realizing the value in gifts.
100%.
Whereas a lot of people, you know, like I'm stoked. If someone gives me a gift, I'm like, thank you so much. Like that's sick.
Yeah.
Like, you've gone out of your way to get me something. Like I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for anything that's little. You can buy me a drink or something. I'd be like, you're the man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't buy you a
Yeah, I
drink,
know,
by
you're
the way. I'm a flop.
But, you know, that comes down to like love languages and stuff like that too. Love languages are usually based off things that people didn't have growing up.
Really?
Most of the time.
Yeah. Sorry, no, sorry. I
Did you just have a stroke?
I always like whenever I get questions in my head, I just like try search for opportunities to
Go for
say it. But you mentioned before that you got heavily into personal development and bettering your health and everything, which is what took you down the better pathway.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what was there a person that got you into that, or like an influencer? So for like me, for example, I first got into like Ty Lopez. And that was what sparked my
Lamborghini. entrepreneurial
journey.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
ironic as it is, because he
Look.
was one of those like guru guys. Like, who was that for you?
But there, there's all these people that paint a picture, and if they've got something you want, you always want what you don't have. I guess for me, I wouldn't say there was a particular person. I'd say that my brain's always worked in the way of, if someone has something that I don't have and I want it, I'll go up to them and I'll ask them how to get it.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
And that was kind of like fitness. Like a friend of mine was working out, and I was like, "Oh, like, what do you do, bro? Like, can I work out with you?"
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure. So I started working out with him. That was kind of how I started. Or it was basketball. I was just kind of like, oh, I want to play basketball. Can I play basketball?
Yeah.
Just looking at, again, like, opportunities are always in front of us. If we want something, we can go get it. But we just have to make the decision to be like, this is what I want, because our brain's a filter. If we decide on one thing that we really want, our brain will, filter out all the opportunities to get that one thing. That's why, like, you see a car. Let's say you buy a car and it's your car.
Yeah.
You see that car instantly everywhere after you buy it.
Everywhere. It's like, I don't know if you remember, but when you get your L's
Yeah.
and you're like driving around, you just see people like learners everywhere because you
100%.
see what you look for.
Yeah. And like, if people applied that to their life would dramatically change.
Do you think people already do it, but they just do it in a negative way?
Yeah, for sure. Like, there's so much that creates the filter for what you look in life. And that can be, from my perspective and experiences, it comes down to how you were brought up. So if, you were brought up in a toxic environment, you're going to search for that because that's comfortable.
Yeah.
If all you do at work is talk shit about like Sally, and then, you're going to keep talking shit about Fred. So you need to change your mind and condition your beliefs. You have to actually start doing things that are against the grain.
Yep. Challenging yourself.
Embed new programs, because we're just a computer at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, our brain is software.
True. Like all the neurolinks and like neuroplasticity and all that stuff. Like, that's way too big of a word for me to say. But
Neuroplasticity.
That one. Yeah. But like all that stuff, I remember I like heard a little bit about that, and it's crazy. Like,
and there's the saying, like, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here. What is it? Neurons that fire together wire together.
Neurons that fire together wire together.
Yeah. So like, when you're creating a new habit or belief or whatever it may be, behavior, once you start doing it, there's like this picture, and it's like they look like wires in your brain.
Yeah.
And one wire will come up, you do it once, and then you do a few more times, another wire will come up, and another one, and another one, and another one. And next thing you know, you've got this new value or belief that you believe in. And now you're, we look at like cognitive behavioral therapy, for instance,
That was a big word.
So that kind of like, that's one of the things that changed my perspective in thinking. I did a short course on it after I started my PT, because I noticed that I was like negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, I was like, oh, psychology seems cool, I'll do this short course.
Yeah.
So always seeking to learn something new helped a lot.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. But that's why you're in the position you're in now.
I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
No,
Not
I don't
even
think
close.
any of us are. Do you think you ever will be though?
No. Because the standard that we set for ourselves always changes.
100%. What do you think is the borderline that you walk though, of like being happy and continuously chasing that next high? Because you got like two different scenarios for people. You got people that are like chasing that next high because they're just never happy with where they are, or you got the people that are always chasing the next level, but they can still be content with. Because people are like, like people say it to me all the time. They're like, I need to not sound like a douchebag, but people are like, you're doing a really good job, or like whatever it is, right? And it's like, and they're like, you must be so happy with where you are, or they're like, you should be really happy with where you are. And I'm like, it's like,
it's all right.
What do I say? I'm not happy with where I am, but I'm happy with where I'm going.
Yeah.
Is that what I always? I'm pretty sure that's what I say. I always
yeah.
tell people something along those lines. I'm not happy with where I am, but I'm happy with where I'm going.
Well, I think the word that fits that better is contentness.
That's what it is.
Because
yeah.
you can be happy. Like, I'd say I'm happy, but I'm not content with where I am. And you're a happy person.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't say that you're not happy, but you're not content. You don't want to stay where you are now forever.
And that kind of comes down to that CBT again, like the cognitive behavioral therapy, where it starts in the brain.
Yeah.
You think of something, so, and then you speak something, and then you act that way. You take action, and then that's your behavior. And if every single person went through that process, boom, 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 they change any habit they wanted in life.
Interesting.
That's how I changed my thought pattern and my actions and my behaviors and my words, because they're the most powerful thing in the world. And people can be like, oh, as if I change my thought pattern, it's going to do anything. If you think that you're a piece of shit, and then you speak that you're a piece of shit,
what do you
and
think's
then you
happen?
act like you're a piece of shit, no one's going to value you, no one's going to care who you are, because you're now representing a person that has no value.
And people like do it subconsciously too. Like a lot of people are like, they go through these like little stages, like something sort of little happens, and then they get in this like little thing for like a few days, and then a few days turns to a week, and then all of a sudden they're doing exactly what you're saying there. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like compound a year effects. Later, it compounds, and then they're just like depressed as fuck, and they're like, oh, I'm a depressed piece of shit, and all this like negative self-talk.
Yeah.
But then they almost like live and move into it and stay there.
That's now their new comfortable zone. And
that's right.
That's their unconscious mind rewired for a new program, a new pattern to run. So for instance, like you can change your programming, you can change your pattern, you can change your hardwire, and it doesn't, like there's no restrictions. You're not different from anyone else in the world. Anyone can change where they are from where they want to be.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the first thing, which is about what you're putting in your head, what you're saying, how you're speaking, how you're acting, and how you're behaving. If you say to yourself every day, you know, there's all these stories about people becoming a millionaire or achieving something they never thought possible or whatever it is. Like, for instance, a really good example is when I was in high school, I couldn't read. I was actually labeled with having an intellectual disability.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I learned how to read, I learned how to get myself through. And, you know, that was kind of the story that a lot of people played for me in Orange that knew me from high school. I remember this one guy actually, he came into the bar I was working in, and he's like, oh, what have you been up to, man? And I'm like, oh, I'm just starting to be a PT. And the guy laughed in my face.
Really?
And he was like, you want to be a PT? You can't even read. And I was like, well, I can read now, thank you very much. But, but like, you know, I never had an intellectual disability. The system just gave up on me first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually does.
So common, man.
Yeah, 100%.
So common.
And I just reframed everything. I was like, fuck that guy. I'm going to fucking...
Are you negatively motivated?
I was just about to think. I was thinking that as well, eh?
I am at times. I know that I've kind of reframed everything. For a long time I was.
Yeah.
But not really anymore. I'm now driven more by like self-empowerment and like improvement and like creating something for myself.
Yeah, cool.
Versus proving people wrong, which I was very about for a long time.
Yeah,
probably until I'd even say like 2 years ago.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you did that CTV training.
CBT.
That I don't.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
Shut up. No. So you did that the behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
CBT.
CBT. So you did the CBT training.
Yeah, and that was when I was in London.
In London to move into personal training? Or you were already doing personal training?
I did personal training, then I moved overseas after a little bit of working between personal training bars and etc.
Yep.
And I was overseas, and I was like, why am I so negative? Like there's still patterns in my brain that needed to change.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm really interested in psychology, so I'll just do this.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing that, it just made me realize like the more mindful we are of what we say and think, like it literally changes everything. You are, you know, we talk about the environment a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, who you hang around, what you do, your behaviors, everything dictates where you're going to be in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So because at the time I felt like I was around a bad crowd when I was younger, that embedded in me for such a long time. I had to break that pattern and re-hardwire the program.
Yeah.
So it was a really big reboot for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like a system reset.
Yeah, and it literally just started with like if something negative came in my head, I'd question it straight away. It'd be like, you're a piece of shit. Why am I a piece of shit though? Where did that come from?
So you started to sort of challenge the thoughts.
Yeah, challenge the thoughts, challenge the words, reframe the words. and then the actions that you're doing, is it serving you in a positive way?
Yeah.
And then your behavior changes.
Is that so? When you built your PT business, did you build that overseas?
So I started in Orange.
Yeah.
Then I obviously stopped for a little bit, went to London, did some online stuff as well.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my main thing when I was in London. Like I was doing PT online when I was in London. Then I was working in a support worker role. And then I was working in hospitality. So I was working 3 jobs to pay rent and travel to, I went to like 26 countries because.
What?
Yeah.
3 at the same time.
Yeah. In London, you just do what you got to do. I did not sleep. So I definitely felt the whiplash of that when I came back to Australia.
Yeah, wow.
But, when I was overseas, like I worked like 90-hour weeks to live the life of
as much
traveling.
as me.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Sorry.
But it's just crazy. Like it was more of a mental strain because that was when I was working in hotels and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, it's 5-star service in this hotel. It's like the best hotel, one of the best hotels in the world.
Yeah.
I worked in this place called Claridge's.
Yeah.
And like I told you guys, that's obviously where I met the Queen.
The Queen.
Yeah. Can we not just brush past that for a second? Can you say that again? Can you tell us the story? I know you said it's really not that epic, but I just want to know.
So like the interesting thing is like, I thought about meeting the Queen before I went over there, which was cool.
Manifestation.
But yeah, I was working in this hotel, one of the best hotels like in the world for like 5-star service, like old school stuff, like wear like a full suit kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I worked in like so many areas in the hotel. I worked in events. I worked in a Michelin star restaurant. I worked in in-room dining. I worked in like room service, did all these different things. And one of the other things I worked in was like setting up rooms for celebrity interviews, like Walt Disney, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers kind of interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, like I saw like quite a few celebrities. It was a really good experience because it allowed me to actually realize that they're just people.
Yeah,
which
They
is
are
cool.
at the end of the day.
100%.
Hey?
And like they're one or two things. They're a dick or they're a nice person. Like, and that's what it comes down to. But essentially the Queen was coming to Claridge's to hand out an award for someone on the day. And myself and a few others got selected to actually like, serve her if she wanted some food or whatever.
So she's not a fake hologram. She's a real tangible.
She's real.
So you could poke the Queen.
I didn't poke her, but it was cool because like, she went to each person and she looked at me and like it was quite romantic.
So she's not a dick.
No, she's really,
She's a nice
seems like a
person.
really lovely lady to be honest, but she smiled at me, I smiled at her, I bowed to her, she bowed back. It was really sick.
Yeah. She smiles to me every time I pull money out of my wallet.
A lot. I could imagine. I'm sure her bank is full too.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, essentially I worked in that hotel and that gave me the opportunity to see her. And, it's all Will Smith and Leonardo DiCaprio and Margaret Robbie and Jared Leto and all these different actors.
Whoa, you didn't mention those names before.
Yeah, just some of the smaller sort of names in the entertainment industry and stuff.
Like
not
over
really
100
high-profile people, hey.
Over 100 celebrities. But it was just because, like, at the time I was just filling up a room with water or, helping them if they needed something. But, it kind of, that taught me the lesson of, like, real manifestation. Like, these were people I wanted to meet when I was in Orange. I'd be like, how sick would it be to meet these people?
Yeah, literally.
That's so
And I
cool,
thought about
man.
everything thoroughly. I was
You
like,
create it.
Yeah.
You create everything twice, first in the mind and then in reality.
100%. And like, I only thought about it because we got told that we were going to work in these high-end places. And I was like, kind of went through a list and I was like, it'd be cool to see this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. I went on and I was like, well, see what happens.
When you met them, did you think back to that? Or did you not realize till after? Were
Didn't
you like,
realise till
oh
after.
shit.
Jeez.
Yeah. So like everything that I have in my life right now is like a projection of my own creation in my mind.
That's incredible.
And how many on that list did you actually get to meet? Was it everyone?
It was a long time ago, so I can't really remember. I didn't really like. I did
true.
did actually write a list on my phone of like who I met.
Yeah,
and there
yeah.
was a decent amount of people.
That's probably like 6 phones
Wow.
ago, though.
Yeah, 100%. But the people I just mentioned, I thoroughly remember. You know, like thinking about them.
Yeah, as you would.
But yeah, like that was like a huge learning curve that they're just people, and the reason that they are where they are is because they put effort into life, and if you're not there, it's because you didn't.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's obviously so much more complex.
Oh yeah,
than that.
yeah.
Like, if hard workers were like, you know, if, for instance, all right, so you're a cleaner. They're pretty hardworking people, right? If hard work was how you make money, then wouldn't all cleaners be rich?
Yeah, that's so true. They say it about construction workers too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's true. You got to be smart
Yeah.
at some point along the way.
100%.
What do they say? Most people in suits work for people in pajamas.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
I love that
And
one.
it's not even like about money. Someone's going to hear this and they're going like, oh, it's all about money. You're like brainwashed or blah, 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 blah. It's not about money. Money is just energy.
Money, yeah, I agree with you, because it's like I challenge this all the time, and only because I got challenged by people, by my boss actually, funnily enough. He's like, what do you want out of life? He's like, are you chasing money? I was like, nah, I'm not chasing money. He's like, well, what are you chasing? I was like, oh, just the freedom to be able to do whatever I want to do and look after my family and, you know, live a cool, fulfilled life. He's like, but what's fulfillment to you? And I was like, oh, you know, like going on adventures and just doing cool things and inspiring people. He's like, but how are you going to inspire people? And I was like, oh, look, start a podcast, or like, I don't know, you know, travel the world and meet people and stuff. He's like, how are you going to travel the world? And I was like, started to realize what he was getting at. And I was like, he's like, you're after money.
Money!
And I was like, he's like, money is like, money just amplifies the type of person you are.
Yeah.
So if you're a shit person and you get a lot of money, you're going to be a shit person with a lot of money.
And
if you're a good person with money, you're going to be a good person but with a lot of money. Like, I want money now, and I've accepted that.
And it comes down to your relationship with money too.
That's it.
Like,
yeah.
if you're not real, like if you've got a bad relationship with money, if you've always never had money, you're always going to get rid of it.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
That's the big thing. Like I've literally, again, like even when I talk about like where I'm now in my own story, like I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I'm rebuilding a travel fit.
Yeah.
Like my PT business, like I'm stepping away from that because like it no longer serves me. And like when I realized it no longer served me, it went down the drain. And like I'm like, so many people like, I can like say whatever I want on here.
You can say whatever you want.
So many people pull their dick and they're like, bro, I'm fucking here and like I'm killing it. Motherfucker, I was talking to you the other day and you were telling me how much you're struggling and how you're like, you've got like $10 in your bank account.
Yeah.
Stop lying. Stop trying to project a picture that isn't real. Like someone says to me, like, where you at now? I'm like, I'm nowhere near where I need to be. Like I've put myself like in debt to make things happen.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to paint a picture like I'm somewhere where I'm not yet.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so like open and I'm like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Like I still, like where I am now compared to where I was in Orange, this is my dream life. I live on the Sunshine Coast where there's mountains, there's beaches, there's good people.
Dan
and I
lives
have a car. Dan's here. Fucking the Passion Project podcast is here. And you know what I mean? Like this was my dream life in 2011.
Yeah.
Like I could easily, like for me, like I could easily just go get a 9 to 5, right? And I would still be living the dream because I live in a beautiful place with beautiful people and I'm grateful for where I am.
Yeah, 100%.
But because I know that my soul will die if I don't do what I love, I put more risk and more failure into my life, calculated risk and calculated failure into my life to progress to a new step. And every time you progress to a new step, you're going to hit a few bumps along the way.
100%.
And then you've just got to keep being like, all right, I got punched in the face a few times. It's time to keep going up. And then you'll fall down again.
Yeah.
And it might be at the bottom, but I can guarantee you it's kind of like cryptocurrency. It's going to get a real big low and then it's going to shoot up real high.
And then, the base level just keeps getting higher and higher to where you fall.
Yep, 100%. And like, I think it's so important to touch on that because everyone's projecting a picture of how easy it is to get to success or what you need to do to get to success. I've been successful in my PT business when I made 100K, but at what cost? Like I had like a somewhat stroke.
Do you want to touch base on that?
Yeah. So like it was an interesting time as well. I've got so many stories.
So how long did it take you to get the PT business to like 6 figures?
A year and a half.
Whoa, that's pretty good.
But I was doing 18-hour days. I wasn't sleeping.
That's what people don't see though.
I wasn't looking after myself. There's my perspective is now there's no point throwing yourself into the ground if you don't live your life.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're only damaging yourself and others. Like there's so
100%.
many disproportionate values and beliefs where I believe like I'm still learning every day about like what's important to me, and I change it all the time because my life is audited, and if you order your life consistently, you'll constantly improve your life because you're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations which create momentum. But on the stroke thing, so it wasn't a stroke. I can't diagnose it as a stroke, but I lost half feeling in my body. I couldn't lift myself up.
That's a stroke.
I went fully cold, and I had to be taken from an ambulance to the hospital. It wasn't diagnosed with a stroke because they said there was nothing wrong with me.
Oh yeah, they're good at that.
Yeah,
they're good at that, man. I was at the hospital a couple of weeks ago with my mum, and she... oh my God. I was at the hospital a couple nights ago, like 2 weeks ago with my mum, and she was on the bed in front of us, and she started like having a seizure and shaking, and like all her arms curled up and everything because she was really unwell.
Yeah, like a clonic seizure.
Yeah, and she was like, I was like, my brother was like, we need a nurse. She's having like a seizure because her eyes like rolled to the back of her head before it happened. We knew it was gonna happen. They came in and they're like, oh no, that wasn't a seizure. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have watched my mum have seizures since I was like up to your knees. I was like, that was a seizure, but they couldn't classify it as a seizure because they didn't see enough of it.
Yeah. And that's like, I guess.
And then she had one the next morning, and they rang me and they're like, oh yeah, so that was a seizure yesterday. And I was like, thank you.
The thing, like, and you kind of have to just kind of realize as well with things like that, when you look at the medical field and you look at the holistic health field, is like, the way I look at it now is everyone's just doing the best that they can with what they know. And that's one direction that they know is that way. And someone who's in holistic health, their direction is that way. Personally, I think holistic health is really good, and it can solve a lot of things because it looks at the root cause and not like something to treat something temporary.
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
fix the problem.
Doesn't just slap a Band-Aid on it to
for sure.
fix the symptoms. It actually works on preventing it from happening in the first place.
100%. And like, so I kind of look at everything like that way, like everyone's just doing what they can. And, you know, you kind of just have to be like, all right, cool, well, this is what's happening, and that's their perspective, that's fine. But knowing in yourself that, like, you know, I know that this isn't right, and kind of following your intuition, which is like the biggest thing, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. So sorry about all the alarms, just so the viewers know. We got the same problem as last week. We don't have a cameraman this time, so yeah, ignore the alarms.
All good, just edit it out.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't edit them too much, man. I try to leave them raw because I think it shows like
it's real, it's
authenticity,
organic.
man. It's real, like like the video viewers right now wouldn't even know that the third camera is stacked on an ironing board with a book and sticky notes under it.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Well, they do now.
They do now, but like that's what it's, you know, like it's just it's real, man. That's just what it is.
Well, that's what I was saying to you. Like even with my podcast, you know, like I do everything through Zoom.
Yeah, that's sick though.
Like,
it works.
It does what it needs to. It doesn't. I don't have to sit in an office.
Yeah.
I can sit on my bed and interview them if I really wanted to.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have done that before.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Just been in your jocks on the bed.
It's the angle.
Yeah.
But like
the laptop slips off.
But you know, I think so important too, is everyone's trying to get shit perfect, but nothing's ever perfect. And if you're always looking for the perfect time or opportunity or the perfect resources, you're not going to move anywhere.
You'll never go anywhere. You'll just stay exactly where you are. I even did that with this. Dude, no joke. This took me so long to build. And like, yeah, it's cool. But I always say to people, they're like, oh, that's so sick. I'm like, yeah, it's overrated. It's so overrated.
I know, like, I dig this. I think this is cool.
Oh, dude, I wouldn't ever go back and not do it. Trust me. I'm like, this thing, I love it. It's like, I walk in the office and like me and Jaren do it all the time. We walk in the office and like, damn, I miss this place.
Yeah.
And we were only there like 8 hours ago.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. What you're doing is like you're creating like an emotional home to this place. Is like this is where you get creative and you're inspired and you create what you want.
That's the idea.
More people need it.
Yeah. That's why it says a leap of faith to chase a passion without holding back on the door.
Yeah. So
that's what I live by. It's just like taking that leap of faith to just do what you want to do.
Do it.
And that's what the brand's sort of like surrounded around anyway.
And if more people do that, more people change, right?
That's right. 100%. Speaking of brands, when did Travel Fit come about?
Well, that was in when I was living in London in 2016.
Yep.
So after a year of like living there and like having my
It's
whole
not even that long ago, was
mind
it?
blown.
No, 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
It's gone quick.
Yeah.
So quick. Yeah, after like living there and just like doing, like I said, doing like, it's probably people going to hate me for saying this, doing the bull run in Spain because it's like really cruel for the bulls. I'd never do it again.
You didn't know?
I didn't know how bad it was until I did it, and it's pretty horrendous. Like,
Oh, really?
I felt really bad. But you know,
Can you explain what the bull run is?
so essentially,
Because I picture these Facebook videos I see of crazy people running down alleyways
that was me.
with why?
So-
I was like gonna ask you before we started the podcast. I'm like, no, I'm gonna ask you on the podcast because
Yeah.
surely you seem like you got your head screwed on. That doesn't seem like there is much of a win out of it. I would probably do it. Full disclaimer.
It's
Experience.
it is something that was always on my bucket list. It was kind of like one of those things where I was like, I want to do that, and I was like, I don't know why I want to do that, but I want to put myself in a dangerous situation and know that I can survive. And
That's
you know
logical,
what?
man. Have
And
you
like
tried?
you know what? I did it, and it was actually pretty wild because I definitely nearly died. Well,
How many people like actually die?
it's quite interesting. It's actually hard to know. This is what I heard. But what happens is if you're dying, they'll pull you off the road, and it doesn't count as a death in the bull run. It's what I've heard. I don't know how true that
Jeez.
is. Pretty wild. Like, you know.
Did you watch people get just mauled
Thankfully not.
because you're just running?
I was like,
Yeah, I don't know if you'd have time to look back and watch.
there were people literally like on the ground in a ball, like crying and freaking out. And I'm like, I'm not helping you. I'm sorry. But like, if you don't save yourself, no one's going to save you. Kind of goes in
Dude,
life
that's
too.
just life, man.
Yeah. Like imagine a bull's running out.
would they
Why
be
would
there?
you stop? Like, you're going to die. Get up, move.
You idiot.
Yeah.
So why did they do it?
Because they wanted to experience something new.
What?
But the problem with that is when people want to experience something new and they put themselves in that situation, you have to make sure you have the skill set or the mental capacity to actually keep going.
Yeah, it just gets too hard and they're like, nah.
Like there's 2 gunshots, right? One's to let you know that you can run, and the other one's to let you know that the bull's been released. So obviously we all run at the second gunshot.
Why?
You know.
For the extra thrill.
Well, extra thrill. I've never been as scared as I've ever been than in that moment. Because, like, these bulls, their horns are, like, this big. It's ridiculous.
How much further behind you are they?
They got pretty close. Like, there was a time where I saw the bulls, and I'm like, fuck this. And I, like, went to grab and jump over the fence, and this Spanish dude's like, bear man. And he, like, threw me back in. And I was like, what? I'm going to have to keep running here. So I kept running, right?
No way.
And we kind of hit this corner, and I was like, oh, they're coming. I can't run. It's going to get me. So I went in this corner and kind of hid, and so did like 50 other people, and we're all kind of like bunched up, and all we hear is this like these like bulls like on the cobblestone just running past, and it was so scary because if they turned and hit us, we all would have got mauled.
Yeah.
Oh,
Far out.
And anyway, they ran past, and everyone started running again, and you only got a certain amount of time to run into the arena before when the last bull goes in. We thought there were no more bulls running. So we're running to this arena, and we're like, yeah, we've done it. And then the Spanish people were like,
so what happens when you get in the arena?
oh, I'll tell you in a
get to
second.
it. Yeah.
We were running, and the way to get into this like arena is as big as this black piece of wall here. And you got, thousands of people in this wall, and the Spanish guy's like, the bulls are coming, there's more. And I look behind and see this bull, and I'm like, hell nah. And I literally pushed my way through, and literally, I'm sorry, but I threw someone past me. And I was like, I'm not fucking dying today. Fuck no. And I ran in the arena, moved to the side, and I literally saw just in a brief few seconds these bulls running through and like hitting all these people. And I was like, that was close. That like once you're in the arena, you've got the choice to jump out, or you can stay in the arena and play with the bulls.
No way.
No, get out.
I stayed in there a little bit, and then I jumped out. But it was a cool experience at the time, but obviously
I thought you were legitimately intelligent up until 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, like we've all got a weird
I would
wacky
so
style.
do it myself.
Do you get like the red flags and everything?
No. You just like in the thing, but we wear red and white, so obviously.
So you purposely trigger them.
Yeah.
So literally like 1,000 people were doing it.
There would have been a few thousand, yeah, for sure.
And do you have to pay to sign up? Is it just like a Sunday afternoon thing? Is it like a special event?
You buy your outfit. It goes for a few weeks, I'm pretty sure. Or it might go for a week, sorry. Yeah, it goes for a week and they've got the bull run every day.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, essentially it originally was created because, like, back in, like, ages ago, like tribal days, whatever, they obviously had to, like, lure the bulls into the village to actually kill them and eat them. So it's like, you know, to survive.
Yeah, so it's like a tribal thing.
Yeah, not anymore.
It's like a traditional.
It's actually quite bad. They like, you know, like they throw spears at them, drug them up, and like
get them angry.
Yeah, get them angry. It's not good.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for that. Like I didn't.
But you probably didn't know.
I didn't know at all until like after.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, this isn't good because I saw some people in the street like signs and stuff.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But yeah, that essentially happened. Where were we up to?
Yeah,
how
now
did we
it's
get on
like,
the bull story?
Dude, where do you go from there? You ran from bulls.
Start a travel fit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, I did all those experience bull run, etc. And like it was 2016. I was walking. I lived in the east side of London. It was a bit of a ghetto area. And I went to this gym. It was called Muscle Hut. Anyway, I'm walking home after this gym, Muscle Hut. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what am I doing that's serving me and others? And is this gonna like what can I do to create a life that I always wanted? And I was like, what's impacted me in a positive way? Fitness, travel, mindset. Cool, travel fit. And then as soon as I said travel fit, I was like,
it just came to you like that.
Whoa,
Yeah.
was that easy?
It was
simple.
It was kind of, honestly, it was like I had all these weird sensations in my body. It was like
you
I
knew.
just got hit by lightning.
It was meant to be.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Energy just
100%.
like struck you.
100%. I was just like, whoa, like this is going to be big. But I didn't really start creating anything till 2018.
Right.
So in my head, I pictured all these things. I like visualized. I was thinking about what I could do.
Yeah.
It was going to be like just fitness on the go. And then it was going to be like these food vans that go to festivals and like do healthy food and things like that. But it wasn't really until after I had that little episode. It was at Good Life in Maroochydore, where I was working at the time, and I had that stroke kind of episode that I was just like, I need to do things to teach people how to have balance.
100%.
And then I was just like, I'm going to run retreats and community events and sell clothing and do all these different things.
Yeah.
That's going to create a community so people can feel connected, they can feel loved, they can experience new things that shifts their perspective for life.
Yeah.
And it's give them a skill set for their mind, their body and their soul.
Yeah.
And they're the principles of travel fit. It's mind, body and soul, because mind in the sense of mindset training, changing your beliefs, working on like changing your mind, body in the sense of nutrition, training, and then soul in the sense of experiences, because when we put those three things together, you now have an ultimate formula to change your life forever. And yeah, so that's how Travel Fit was created and how it kind of came to what it is today.
Yeah,
That's
wow.
interesting.
That's a cool way to come up with it, though.
Yeah, it's almost like it's gone full circle, because like when you were younger, you were like trying to search for a community to fit in and stuff, and then as you got older, like as you were finding it, you then like change your mindset, and then you realize like you were having all these different experiences, like you needed to change, move to London, did the bull run, did this, did that, and now it's come full circle where you don't want people to have to go through all that stuff to find the same thing, so you're providing it.
Yeah, it's just literally giving people everything I never had. And you know, if I had the community that Travel Fit has when I was going through these hard times, and I had a safe place to go where I could, you know, switch my perspective around and I could be around loving people and connected people and open-minded people, holy shit, my learning curve would have been like in half.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What is it? Smart people learn from their mistakes. Smarter people learn from others' mistakes.
100%.
Is that what they say?
It sounds pretty close.
Something like that.
Let's run with it.
Let's run with it. I'm so about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we are today, really.
How did you get there, though? Because I know that you had a lot of struggles with travel fit?
Yeah, look, there's been so many times where I've just been like, why am I doing this?
Like to yourself?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been punched in the face several times. I've had so many people be like, why are you pursuing this still? Like, it's obviously not doing like as well as you thought, or like it doesn't really seem like something that can take off, or you don't have the skill set to do that, or blah, 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 blah. You know, whatever.
The naysayers.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Because they says the dream stealers,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's it.
They can't do it, so why can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, you know, the first retreat I was going to do was going to be a week in Byron Bay. I was working with a guy at the time, and we had this like this deal, and it was going to be like, you know, I had so many followers on online, and you know, I PT'd. He paid for a few PTs, but I trained him majority free in exchange to help me build, you know, the treat and fill it and do all these amazing things. And you know what? I learned a lot for social media for sure. I learned some lessons, and he did add value. Yeah, I thought, you know, like I built like a really good friendship with the guy too. I was like, cool, right? Like you're a really cool dude, and etc. But he was over promising and under delivering. You know,
had it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. And I don't even know if he realizes, but I did a thing called IG audit and found out most of his followers were fake. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. So
is that a website?
It's called IG audit, but they got shut down because it was exposing too many people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I
That's
actually
interesting.
searched a lot of brands.
I tried to use it the other week, and it didn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore, unfortunately.
That sucks.
Like I did so many things and so many brands. It's not hard to buy followers.
Yeah,
but like
so
personally,
easy.
I couldn't do it for my own morals. If you got to do it, you do it. You do you, boo. Like, you know.
We talk about this, all the time, because we know quite a few people that are buying followers, and it's just so obvious. But maybe it's only obvious to us because we got the creative mind and not the consumer mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know so many brands.
It's for validation.
Yeah, but
credibility.
Yeah, but if you catch on though, like when you got 25k followers and you're getting 10 likes, brother, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing.
You know, all you have to do is look at the likes, the views, and ask for a picture of their analytics.
It's so funny, all of the people that went ahead and bought followers when all of this Instagram removed the like stuff.
Yeah.
And then Instagram, like, a year later, we're like, oh, we're going to bring back the likes now. And all these people are like, oh, shit.
But they've given people the option as well. So you can tell it's shady when they don't allow you to see the number of likes.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, have they given you the option?
Yeah.
Oh, sick them in a bot followers and then the option. Thank gosh.
But yeah, like obviously that fell through. That was the first obstacle.
Yeah.
Didn't fill it. I had to cancel it. I was kind of distraught after that was the first one. I was like, oh, fuck. Next one.
Sort of like a kick in the balls after all the hard work
straight
you've
in the
done.
dick.
Yeah.
Next one was COVID. So I went to launch something during COVID. COVID happened, failed. Threw it in the bin again this year, March.
And you had people booked and you had to refund them. Is that right?
Yeah.
And obviously you wouldn't have got all of the money back. So like that would have been a financial hit for you too, because you have fees, you've got...
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. Like the accommodation was really good.
Okay, well that's good.
I smartly didn't, because I kind of saw some stuff was happening. I didn't book the activities. And that was where I would have lost the money.
Very smart, yep.
And, you know, the second time... Oh, sorry. Yeah, the second time would have been this year in March. I was going to have it. COVID happened again.
Is that third? Wasn't the first one Byron Bay?
Yeah.
And then COVID hit the second one?
I've just kind of realised that it happened 4 times today.
Really? Okay, yeah.
So March failed, and then it was supposed to be November this year. COVID happened, couldn't go over there. So I had to cancel it again. And that's when I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm doing a day experience in the same month, and I don't give a fuck if 2 people show up.
That's sick.
And originally, to be honest, like when I was doing this day experience, I literally, I got hit pretty hard after that. And I was just like, I don't have the money to do this.
Really?
So I had enough for the deposit. So I put the deposit down. And I was just like, well, better make sure you find some people, Chris, to get this going, to cover the costs and whatnot.
Kickstarting that financial intelligence.
Yeah, for sure. Making something out of nothing. And that's what an alchemist is. turning silver into gold or turning whatever into gold. Like that Alchemist book, really good. Read it.
Oh,
but
that's
Definitely have to add it to the list.
Add it to the list.
But yeah, I was just like, I'll make this work, and I did. I put it together, put a deposit on. I had a month to make it all happen.
Yeah.
And in that month, I contacted a few hundred people. I put ads out. I did what I had to do. I was consistent, and I got 11 people to the retreat.
How many?
11.
11.
Yeah.
Is that what the goal you set?
The goal was 20.
Yep.
But 11, gave me what I needed to make the event happen and do everything and make a very, 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 very small amount of money, like $100.
Really? So
I
you
made
didn't
nothing.
Yeah.
I thought I was actually down 500 the other day.
Yeah.
And I reassessed everything and I was like 100 up, and I was like, oh, that's a bonus.
Oh, I made $100.
But
it's enough for fuel.
But I have it's not even about the money. It was about getting the content and doing what I had to do.
Yeah.
To build the momentum. I now know how to run a day experience, and I know how to be the best in the industry.
You earned so much, like value-wise and energy-wise, you would have gotten so much more out of that than $100.
100%. And
like the knowledge and the what you can carry to the next one, and like obviously got all the experience, the content, everything. You got people, testimonies, everything.
Everything I ever needed is in that, and now you're looking at the world's best health and fitness retreat.
Oh,
that's it.
I love it, man.
3 years from now, you'll see my retreat in 10 countries.
I love the confidence.
Hands down, like I have so much self-belief that this is going to work, and like there's nothing that's going to stop me, whether that be people sabotaging, or whether that be in your environment, or whether that be your own dialogue.
100%. I think I can firsthand contest to this. Like, I believe in you so much. Like, I don't even know. By the way, like, me and Chris have never gone out and gotten lunch, or we've never talked really outside like the mastermind, very briefly. But after talking to you and like spending that time with you last Tuesday, you can tell how passionate you really are about it, because there's a lot of people in this space that I really don't care. They just see how easy it is, because I could go and start a breathwork thing and buy some inflatable pools and do like ice baths or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you I could get 10 people to show up.
100%.
But it's the people that are really serious about it, which is the ones that will take it to the next level. And I see you on that level, because you can tell that you're so passionate about what it is that you're doing. And you've had so many losses for you to continue to keep doing it. You can tell there's something there.
Thanks, bro. That's so kind.
And I've also heard from people, and like even Ryan that was on the last podcast said that was, I think he said, the best experience that he has ever had.
Yeah, he said that on this thing, and like that was pretty huge, because he's done a lot of personal
He has
development.
done a lot of them, bro.
And I think the difference is, like, with my day experiences and the whole model of Travel Fit is everyone's trying to fix someone. And this is a lesson I had to learn with myself. I became more of a coach than a person at one point in my life, where I tried to fix shit all the time. But when I realized that, I was just like, I'm not here to fix anyone. I'm here to give people the opportunities, the tools, and the fundamentals that they can fix their own shit with. Because if people fix their own shit, they're actually going to change shit. That's what Travel Fit does. It's a community.
Yeah.
Like, on our retreat experience, it's not just the day. Like, after that, we give you like a full 4 weeks on something that Ty created, which is called Daily Meds, which is amazing. It talks about breath work. It talks about, walking. It talks about play. It talks about stretching, etc. Blah, 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 blah.
So you'd still be checking in with people from your experience?
Yeah. Like, I'll send an email this week. I sent one last week.
That's incredible, man.
It's not, I'm not there to fix anyone's shit. I'm there to make sure people have a really fun day where they can meet like-minded people. They can take away from being inside their own head, and they can realize how powerful their thoughts are.
Yeah.
And when they start to realize, mind, body, and soul, the fundamentals, you can change. Like I said, you can change your life. Do those things. You'll stop being so far in your head and, judging yourself and worrying about yourself and going to all these things that happen to you, and you'll start living in the present moment. Because if we look at like living in the present moment, all the chaos is caused by living in the future or the past. And what issues is caused by living in the present?
There can't be anything, can there? It's impossible.
And it's just wild.
Ooh.
Like,
clip it.
Yeah, we're done.
Clip it.
But
that's so true though, isn't it? Because it's like, I don't know if you ever heard about the expectation gap.
No.
So, I threw myself on the spot. So the expectation gap is you got the imagination gap. So it's like your imagination of what you thought something was going to be like. Your past. So like what things used to be like. So, I'm going to go catch up with this person. Last time I seen this person, it was a bit like, your expectation is now based off your past thing. And then what's the other expectation gap? Fuck. I've lost it. But that's like comes down to everything in life is like expectation and the expectations that we have and
the expectation to be perfect does not exist.
Exactly right.
What about the standard of, doing the best that you can every day?
That exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the best you can and you're not judging yourself.
That's it.
I get anxious still.
Yeah.
I get depressed at times. But guess what? I get myself out of it. I say, all right, well, why the fuck am I feeling anxious? Okay, well, you didn't sleep much last night. You haven't worked out in 2 days. You're not eating good food. You're not, hanging around good people. What is it in your circle? And there's something we go about like in the little workbook and this is quite popular, like Tony Robbins and all these other people. But like, what is it in your circle that is not filled out? Because if you think about like a circle, right, like say you got relationships, you got partners, relationship, you've got purpose, you've got all these different things that fill the circle in little triangle gaps.
Yeah.
What happens if, let's say there's eight triangles that make the circle. What happens if only 4 are full and the other 4 aren't? Can you drive on a car like that?
No.
So you're gonna be driving and feel a lot of bumps, click clunk, click clunk, click clunk. That's your life. If your circle isn't full, you never can expect to really have a smooth life. You can't drive. There's going to be potholes. There's going to be all these issues.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If we start to acknowledge like what our downfalls are, then we can start to work on like what we can bring up to hit a new standard so that we can live our life in the present moment with what we need to, because so many people get carried away on one thing. My biggest issue that I've worked so hard on, I used to be so obsessed with business that it ruined my relationships. It ruined my self-worth because that's all I cared about, because that was the only thing that made me feel like I was doing something in life. But what happens if, life wasn't meant to be lived in the way of, focusing just on one thing, but living a life where you're serving everything at once?
Yeah.
I actually love that because I found I fell in love with that same philosophy, and that is why I like Ty Lopez so much, because he's a dude that is like done hundreds of millions of dollars in business, but he's not telling everyone out there, money will fix all your problems. Just focus on business and everything else will come. He believes, he's like, there's a cap of money that people should know what they want to make. And his philosophy is the 4 pillars of life: health, wealth, happiness, and love. And in that order as well, because ultimately health is at the top. And that's something that I experienced not long ago. I was in a previous job, which was an office job, and I was just working on business the whole time, just business. And I wasn't exercising, like literally since leaving school and going into that job.
Sick.
I wouldn't even get an hour of exercise per day. It was probably like an hour of exercise per week.
It was like walking to and from his car from the job was like the exercise.
Literally, that was like all the exercise I got. I was eating takeaway multiple times a week, just eating just
compound
bullshit.
effect of so many negative things at once.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, it hits you like a freight train.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, why do I feel like shit?
Yeah.
That's what happened to him. And then he, I'll let you finish that.
I had a relationship that fell apart as well. And I don't want to blame that on entirely business because it just didn't work. But after that, it definitely revealed a lot of qualities in me and be like, man, it's not like all about business. Like the time that I was just focusing on all of that, everything else was falling apart. So now I'm like, I just love that balance because I think ultimately the whole like universe comes down to balance.
100%. And it's just about like even knowing these things. I've known these things for quite a while. Guess what? I still fall into the hole of like self-sabotage every now and again, or like forgetting about something else. And like, so many people preach, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Guess what? You're not always going to do it.
No. Yeah. You're going to fall short.
Yeah. And it's about being like, oh, it is what it is. I made the mistake there. Now I'm going to actually take the action to fix the problem. I'm not going to avoid it. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm the worst person in the world because I'm not following everything to a T. Yeah. It's just like, it is what it is.
That's it, man. And it's so easy for people to fall into like this expectation of like the imagination expectation of like, oh, when I create my business, it's going to do this, it's going to do $2,000 a day. And when I do this and this is going to happen when this happens. And when this works, this will also work. And then all this shit. And it's like, then you fucking fall short on the first line.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fuck. And it like slaps you in the face. And then you push past it and then you get fucking punched in the face again.
Everyone's got big goals, but no one has the little goals that's going to get you to the big goal.
That is exactly it. Yeah. The small steps will get you up the mountain. 100%. You can't just jump to the top of the mountain.
Be real impressive if you could.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that can. Like, I'm sure the people that get in a helicopter and just get dropped off at the top of the mountain. Sure. But like when you're at the bottom, focus on the small steps that are going to get you to that next checkpoint. Like, yeah, it's so good to have huge goals and big ambitions. It's incredible. But focus on those little steps.
And, even if you jump real high and you haven't learnt the lessons you need to before you get to that high point, how are you going to manage that high point?
You can't. I did this with a photography business, right? I talk about this all the time. Not really. I don't think I've ever mentioned this. I've told a few people, though. Yeah. I had a photography business in high school, and my parents were like, oh, yeah, you're going to go do so well with it. Like, when you leave high school, you'll be able to quit your job because financially it would have been easy. It's like earning, like, quite a fair bit a week. Like, I think in high school, some weeks was like $2,000 because I was doing, like, weddings and stuff, right? Like, big money in the weddings and everything like that. And I was doing shoots after school. And then I had, like, a little editing gig as well where I'd edit, like, other people's content and all this stuff. And then it was, like, that expectation though, and it was like I wasn't really developed enough, like business minded and mindfulness minded, where I just thought, oh yeah, sick, going hard is the answer. Like this is just where to get to where I want to get to is just what I've got to do.
Until you turn into a potato that can't function.
I turned into a potato that couldn't function, where I was sleeping at school, and then it just went to shit because I fell out of love with it because it went from something I loved to work. And that was a big struggle I had. So then I just stopped doing all the weddings and stopped doing all this. Like, I had people asking me to give them new teeth in photos. And because I was so young and I was so, like, just wanting to help everyone, I was like, yeah, I can do anything. And they wanted me to change the color of their dress and, like...
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, like, shit you would not believe, man. I had people wanting me to put more hair on their head.
Yeah.
I can't make this up. Like, this is legitimately stuff that people ask me to do, and I was like trying to just please everyone. And yeah, I didn't fail. Like, I did really well out of it, but I just fell out of love with it and then just stopped. And then I just went and got a regular job, and all these people were like, oh, you're going to go do this after school. And I didn't do that. And then people sort of just like almost didn't believe anymore. And I loved that. That was like my favorite thing. Like, I had a particular thing with a family member where they're like, oh yeah, we all had so much hope in you. I was like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fuck you.
I'll just go fuck myself.
Yeah. Because I just went and worked at this regular job. And then that's when I realized, I was like, you can have everything, but if you don't know how to manage everything, you're not going to be able to manage it. And you won't be at the top for long. You'll just fall straight back off.
And like the good thing about that is you're just like, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. I'm just going to go get this job, reboot my mind, reboot myself, and then I'm going to get back into it anyway.
Well, I'm negatively motivated.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if someone says that I can't do anything, I will quite often actively question them and go, oh, I've never thought about it that way. Maybe I am shit. Like, fuck, that's really hard to achieve, isn't it?
It's so funny that you bring that up.
I did that with yesterday, didn't I, with someone. They were like trying to tell me on like how to freaking like, I can't say directly, but someone, I can't say directly, but someone was trying to tell me how to do something because they were assuming that what I was doing wasn't working.
But that's like,
and I was like, literally, hey, dude, I like literally went straight into it. I was like, yeah, it is really hard to do. Like, I'm really struggling with it and I just can't do anything. Like, you have any advice for me?
Do you know what I do to people?
What?
I
This is scary.
I'll act dumber than what I am to figure out what a person's like.
Yeah.
And I'll have the answers sometimes. Sometimes I won't. If I don't, I learn something.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I allow people to try and tell me something and try and talk down to me.
Yeah.
Because it allows me to be like, all right, you're a shit human. That's fine. You do you. I'm not going to waste my energy on you. And I'll let you keep saying what you want to say, and that's fine. Whatever. I don't care if I've heard it like 20 times.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pull my dick out and be like, come on, let's measure, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
dick
I'm not
measuring
gonna
contest.
I'm not gonna waste my energy on someone. Like, great if they're trying to help, I'll be like, I really appreciate that. That's cool. But yeah, I've heard that. I'll take it on board, or I'll say thank you, and I'll take it with a grain of salt. But
you have to though. You have to do that shit all
people
the
think
time.
they got all the answers.
Everyone thinks they
everyone's
know
a
the
dictator.
answers.
Everyone's the captain. But you have to remember as well, society doesn't work if everyone's an employer.
That's it. It makes the world spin.
Yeah,
at
you
the
need
end of the
employer
day.
and employees.
That's it.
And, not everyone's meant to be an employer. Not everyone's supposed to own a business. And that's okay.
That's it. Yeah, you're so right.
So many people are like, oh, you should run a business because, you make more money, or you do this and whatever. If you have the capacity mentally to put yourself in these situations and learn the skills and do whatever it is you can, sweet. But most of the time in my journey so far, everyone's a copycat. Everyone's like, that's such a good idea, I'm going to do it. I've had ideas and I've pursued them.
Yeah.
PT's a really good idea. Really good example, sorry. I'm really big in the posture game. I love posture. I think it's so amazing how you can fix
Yeah, of course.
fix the feet. yeah. Can you see how I'm slouching right now? Really, but I remember talking at the gym, and I was like talking to some other PTs, and I'm like, I'm going to create a posture program. I'm going to create this or whatever it is. And anyway, I just remember being like, oh, that's a good idea. Next thing you know, they're working on it.
Oh,
do you know why it doesn't faze me? Because I know it's going to be hard. And I know I'm going to do it. And I know they're going to get halfway and then they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
The people who don't do it are the people who are meant to be employees.
That's right. So
100%.
you create it and then you hire them to work for you.
Yeah. But, it's not even like I'm not trying to be like a big show pony or be like, oh, I'm the best or I can do shit you can't. It's just more or less like I think so many people judge people on having a job.
Yeah.
If Susan's happy stacking food at the grocery store or whatever, and she does that, she makes a bit of money, and then she spends most of the time with family because that's an important value to her. Cool,
dude, she's happy, man.
Yeah,
she can be more successful than the person that's bloody
stop trying to prove something to someone
else.
else.
$2 million a month.
Yeah, you've got millionaires that aren't happy and then they commit suicide.
Yeah,
so many people are drawn to being the best, but no one's really drawn to being happy.
Yeah. What is the best though? I guess that comes down to...
The best comes down to comparison. Like you said,
Comparison.
on Instagram.
That's true.
The best saying I've ever heard that I really love is comparison is the theft of joy.
Nah, get out. Where did you hear that?
Do you say it? Or
Yeah. I was hoping you were going to look at me and go, oh, I listened to the Passion Project and I heard that.
I literally did not.
Really?
There's a guy who said it. It's like, he quoted it like
Yeah.
years ago.
I can't remember who it was.
I
But
can't remember.
I got it
who
from
was.
somewhere else
Yeah,
anyway.
but I love it. It's so good because
Yeah.
as soon as you stop comparing yourself to other people and situations, then you start living your life again. You start living your life. You're happy. You're present. The whole theme of this podcast is probably going to be about just being present.
That's good though. That's good because it's something that people struggle with.
Yeah.
And I have the analogy that I used in the first episode, I think, where the goal setting, it's think of things like everything comes down to just being grateful and present,
100%.
in my opinion. And I always picture a skyscraper, right? You've got, and I actually came up with this on my birthday, right? I had I was on I don't know, 20th floor or something, right? But I think of reaching goals levels, right? Or just let's even just say,
Such a good game.
We'll
to
just
play.
use that. Yeah. So think of the skyscraper, right? You can have someone on the 30th floor that appreciates the view more than the person on the 100th floor purely for the fact that the person on the 30th floor is so much more grateful than the one up here. So it really doesn't matter where you are on
100%.
in this building. The person that's on the 30th floor may only get to go on a holiday once every 3 years, and they're more grateful than that person that just lives there and got a fuck ton of money, and they sit up there at night alone, and they're depressed. They got no family. They've thrown everything out the window that they could have ever had to chase this dream of having all this money.
And you don't know that person on the 30th floor might be employed, but they could have a lot of money in shares or crypto or whatever it is as well.
Yeah, or they could just give their whole pay packet to a charity or their church or like whatever makes them happy.
100%.
You know, so it just comes down to not judging a book by its cover.
And, you know, like, momentum flows where energy goes.
Ooh.
So, like, you
I
know,
like that.
Me too.
the amount, so if you, and like momentum doesn't flow without action. So if you take action and you do something that you're passionate about or you love or whatever, and then momentum builds. And if momentum builds, then energy builds. And what is energy? It is money. It is fulfillment. It is love. It is whatever you want it to be.
Currency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your own currency that makes you full.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think a lot of people get, like, we can go so deep with this. Like, you know, you've got the CEO and then you've got, you know, the person on the 30th floor. And then you'll usually have people underneath this lady here where they'll be like, no, I don't have to do this because, like, this is what, you know, like, I'm just trying to live my life or whatever. There's a difference between being genuinely happy where you are and making bullshit excuses. And then there's a difference between being up the top, being unhappy and depressed and never really being fulfilled and happy in life versus living your dream.
Yeah.
No one is right or wrong except for the person who lies to themselves.
That was good, man. That was good.
I just like to dive into, like, the devil's in the detail, and so many people, like, I remember watching so much personal development stuff, and I still do, and the details are missing.
Yeah.
So many people get caught up in this one thing, and they're like, that's what Gary Vee said, so I'm going to do that. Got to work every day. Oh, great, you've just put yourself in hospital.
But they don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. They don't understand they don't really dive into it. The detail.
Every individual is different. Everyone has their own structure, their own habits, their own behaviors that suit them the best.
We're all eating off a different plate.
Yeah.
Where is it that you want to see Travel Fit, or just Chris? Where's Chris going to be in 5 years? What is it that you see for yourself? You don't have to share if you don't want to.
I guess it's...
I know you're going to struggle with this question because you're too humble and Chris doesn't want to seem cocky. So, yeah, my challenge to you is don't downplay it.
In 5 years, Travel Fit's going to be the best health and fitness retreat in the world regardless. It's going to be an international brand that looks better than LSKD, Gymshark, and Active Escapes.
Yep.
For the sense of community, not like everyone's different, but like in the sense of community and giving back and having a community of people that change your life and actually follow through.
Yeah.
You know, for me personally, my goal is to, I'm 28 now. So my goal is to fully not retire, still work on everything. I'll always work, but be in the most comfortable position, be a multi-millionaire by the time I am 35. It may happen before that, but it won't happen after that. I can tell you that much.
Let's go.
Yeah. But, you know, like having 10 retreats in 10 different countries, having thousands of events around the world.
Yeah.
For my community events, because it's not hard to scale once the system's in place, and I'm currently creating that system, and I'm currently in talks with someone who's going to become probably a part of Travel Fits.
Don't talk about systems too much because I don't even know. I got no idea, but I've heard you briefly a little bit talk about the systems, like when we were all in that room the other night.
And systems it sounds like a wild and wacky thing, but essentially it's a structure.
It's literally just systemizing things so everything runs smoothly. Because when you ran through like your facilitator system and everything, I was blown away. I was like, this is why this man will do everything that he is setting out to do. That is what sets you apart from everybody else.
And, you know, like, it's just about, like, if you want something to work, you have to make sure you've got everything in place for it to work, because it only takes one part. You know, you got a chair and you got your little feet. what happens if it's, you know, a stool on one little thing and that snaps?
It's like a loose link in the chain.
Yeah. You have to make sure that everything's spot on. And if I can't do that, I'm going to outsource that to someone who can.
Yeah, hire the people that are better than you.
Yeah, and take away that ego. Like, and if you can't do that, if you can't afford that, I've done a lot of stuff on my own because I haven't had the financial capacity to do that. Or I thought I could save some money there. And guess what? I learnt a lot by doing that.
Poor man pays twice.
Yeah. But now I've kind of learnt that like I can outsource as much as I want, and you know where I want to, like capital wise, like in the sense of like not relying on capital to outsource, but relying on I can be efficient with the people I know, because you know network is net worth.
Yeah, I agree. If those people did happen to want to follow and find out what you're releasing next year, where would they be able to do that?
The best place.
See what I did there?
Would
segue?
Would be probably the Instagram, which is TrailFit Global.
Yep.
There's also another Instagram called TrailFit Tribe, which is more about community.
Yep.
They're the best places. Otherwise, you can look at the website, which is trailfitglobal.com.
Yep. And you've got a day experience coming up soon. Can you just tell the viewers about that?
So I have a day experience on February the 26th.
Yep.
It's going to be in the Sunshine Coast hinterland. If you, like, everyone who came to the first one, they're like, well, like, this is sick. It was profound. It was, like, such a good experience. I'm going to 10 times that with new things that I'm adding to it. And the place that I go to, like, it's epic. Like, it's so amazing. Just the place in itself, without all the extra activities and everything in between, is amazing. Like, being in the presence.
The whole presence of the place is a vibe.
I can't even explain. Hey, like when I first got to this place, I was just like, whoa, I feel so relaxed.
Yeah.
But, you know, the first one was essentially more of a trial run than anything, and it exceeded
It
my
went way better than a trial run, I'll tell you that.
I've had so much good feedback, and, you know, this next one's just going to, like, really blow the socks off people.
I'm excited. And they can book that on your website at travelfitglobal.com?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. And then your personal brand, Chris
Walker.
Walker.
What's he got in store?
Yeah.
Just working on myself every day, to be honest. Like,
that's awesome.
I have so much to learn.
Yeah.
I know nothing. There's
well,
so
bro,
much
you're
out
still
there.
young.
Yeah, well.
You're 22.
Hell yeah.
And it's just about being a student every day. And, like, you know, my biggest weakness in my life has always been actually looking after myself. I look after myself to a point, and then I forget again. And I go,
I do that.
And then keep going. So the biggest thing, my biggest project, is just working on myself and giving back to more people. I'll touch on this, like, I forgot about, like, that event with, like, 30,000 people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You've done so much, though. It's hard to touch everything.
I've just been lucky enough to be challenged enough to step into the right doors.
Yeah.
But I have this event I do every year, which is called Do a Good Deed Challenge, and it's a personal event that I do.
Yep.
So every year I create this Facebook event. The first year I did it, I had 30,000 people around involved. And it's about doing good things for other people with, like, no expectation in return. And it was just about teaching people how to be humans again. You know, creating that connection, reigniting that love, and just doing more for other people, for themselves as well as them.
Yep.
But yeah, I've got that event next year. In the next 5 years, I want that to have 1 million people, like, worldwide.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. And that's non-for-profit, hey?
Yeah, just people just do a good deed.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah.
That's sick.
That's sick. Well, I think we touched base on absolutely not everything, but a lot of really valuable
That was
stuff.
a lot.
There was a lot of stuff to digest. So thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time. Like Chris said, if you guys want to follow his journey, I will leave all his social media links down below. Also myself, Jaren's, and the Passion Projects. If you guys can do us a favor and share this podcast, that'd be absolutely incredible. We're pretty much just reliant on the community and the audience at the moment. So if you find any value, make sure you let us know. Please consider leaving us a rating on iTunes and all of the good stuff above. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here with us today. We're pretty close to an hour and a half episode, but we honestly could have went on for about 4 hours with you.
There was a lot of rabbit holes.
There's so many rabbit holes. It's dangerous. So yeah, when we do the 24-hour podcast, we might get Chris back on, because I think we could probably talk for a whole 24 hours about what you've done.
Little bits and pieces. You know.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been Dan, Jaron, and Chris. Have an incredible night. Thanks, guys.
Was.